And we're live. Love how this thing works. You text me. I don't know, my phone. Somewhere. My text messages are on here somewhere. You text me and you said something along the lines of, hey, we should do a show on, I believe your word was, some sort of benchmarks people should strive for, things we want to record. So those I'm catching on to those two keywords, benchmark and record. What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, what got me thinking about this is a couple of different things happened that I was listening to, and then one of them was our show last week with Andy and Carly.
Yeah.
Listening to them talk about, of course, their journey with being part of the gym, but then they did a competition right after that. So it was their first competition, at least together. I know Carly had did something prior to that. But I was just like, oh, wow, this is people who, have jumped into the gym, and now they've got to the point where they're actually ready to do a competition. So to me, that was like a benchmark for them. They were doing their first competition. Yeah. And then listening to this other guy, a gym owner of, 10 or 12 years, he moved into a different position at CrossFit. So he was just kind of thinking about what's happened over the 10 years, and he's like, and he listed off how many people had lost 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. He talked about just people reaching these kind of milestones or benchmarks. So part of it was selfish. I was like, okay, we need to get some things that we can celebrate with what we're doing. But also I think it's not just something that we could celebrate. It's something that people, to me, it's a human need, I believe, to have something that you're striving for.
Yes.
And going after it, that kind of keeps you going after it. And as you're going after it, you're always improving, which is a big part of, what we teach about health. Even one of our principles on movement is, the human body has to physically challenge itself in order to survive and thrive. So are you going to just naturally physically challenge yourself? Probably not. But if you set some type of a benchmark that you can strive after, it keeps you kind of going in that right direction.
Yeah. So it's like, as you're saying that, it's like, I'm saying yes and amen to all of that stuff, and simultaneously thinking, wait a minute, if I agree so wholeheartedly with that, like, why isn't it something we're better at already, right? And I think one of those answers is because there's a trap inside of this stuff. And the trap is that those things are like the end all be all, right? And so I think naturally, like, we have a starting position that pushes away from setting those markers as, hey, these things are the goal, right? The number on the scale is the goal.
Sure.
The speed of your mile is the goal. The load on your bench press, this is the goal. When we know that those type of the orientation towards that thing as the motivator is something that it has an end, right?
Yeah.
And we know that long-term change in health means, no, we're after behavior, right? And so when you get into this state and this mindset of developing the behavior outside of, regardless of what those goals are, it's really easy to actually err on this side of not actually celebrating the good things, not actually seeing the good things that are happening. Right. When, okay, we need a little bit of course correction to say, no, these are still good things, right? We're just saying they can't be the primary thing. Right.
Yeah, and if you even just think about it as the good thing is moving, the good thing is having movement, exercise as part of your lifestyle. You need something to continue motivating you to do that.
Yeah.
And some people it comes, I guess I would say, easier than others. I think we have that in our gym, right? We have a whole spectrum of people that really just love to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't care necessarily about hitting a bunch of goals. They don't care about losing weight. They know it's important for their health, so they have to continue coming. They just like to exercise.
Yeah.
Then I think we have the people who, and I would put myself in this category, is I don't necessarily like to exercise, but I like the competitive part of it. I like challenging myself. I like seeing what my body's capable of, those type of things. Then you have the people that are here, like, I want to lose weight, right? I want to lose weight. I want to get healthier.
Yeah.
And then you have the people that are just like, my husband's telling me to be here. My wife's telling me to be here. You know, something in me, my conscience is telling me to be here. And it's really, really difficult for me to be here.
Yeah.
I think all 4 of those people can use something like we're talking about to help them stay motivated.
Right. And so there's certain things that we're going to touch on that are broadly applicable.
Yeah.
But then there's certain things that it's kind of like, this is going to go one way or another, right? So when we're talking about observable markers of fitness, those are pretty wide reaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anybody can strive for, heavier loads or faster performances, those types of things. But then there's kind of a spectrum of like really people who want to, for health. Some people are going to want to lose weight. Some people are going to want to gain weight. Right. If the goal is health, like just point blank, we've got some skinny boys in here.
Yeah.
And their goal is going to be to, hey, put on some size, put on some mass, get stronger, build a more staturable frame.
Right.
Right. Versus the more stereotypical, like, hey, I'm doing this for weight loss.
Right. Yep.
So, there's a huge piece of what we're talking about that really is the foundation of CrossFit. So, just disclaimer, we are not a CrossFit gym, but we absolutely practice the CrossFit methodology, right? I have gone through a number of different CrossFit proper trainings, and it is a massive piece of forming what we do and why we do it.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest things that they did, so Greg Glassman, the founder, did, is he defined fitness, right? He said, fitness is work capacity across broad time and modal domains. Okay, what the heck does that mean, right? Who can perform any task the best? So now that we've got that definition, we've defined this thing, now we can measure it, right? We can create tasks that are observable. So when we say observable, it means, hey, we can watch this thing be done and clearly tell. Okay, you know what's not very accurately observable is somebody's body weight and body fat percentage, right? Like, okay, we can look at somebody and tell generally what's going on, but like just looking at somebody really doesn't tell you how fit they are, right? It gives you an idea, right? You can certainly tell that somebody who is, 400 pounds versus somebody who's 150 pounds, there's certain things that the 150 pound person is going to have access to that the 400 pound person quite simply doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So in general, but very non-specific. So it's observable, it's measurable, it's repeatable, okay? So take 100 pounds from the floor to an overhead position 30 times. This task is observable, measurable, and repeatable. We can say the person who does this task the fastest is expressing the greatest amount of fitness. Then, after a year of training, you can do it again, measure it again, observe it again, and say, did you do it faster or slower? Yeah. Same task, right? And again, doing it faster, lo and behold, we have a greater marker of fitness. Right? So our whole system, and that's just one small example of this. Like there are tons of different ways this data-driven approach really works its way into pretty much top to bottom everything that we do on a daily basis.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I think those type of things is really what I was talking about. And I know we do some of that, but I don't know that we necessarily highlight enough for people to fully understand. And we have people who can only come on certain days, so they might do a workout one time, and then when we do it, we will repeat it again. They might not be here, and a lot of people aren't necessarily recording their workouts anyway. myself included, much of the time. At least not, in anything on my phone or anything like that where I can be looking back. So having something where, if you're going to use the example of the 100 pounds overhead, where you're doing that and then you're testing it again so that you're able to say, hey, this is evidence, this is objective evidence that I am fitter than I was before, right? But what's I would say awesome about what we do is it's not like we're in here only practicing how to take something from the floor and put it over your head at 100 pounds all the time.
Yes.
That's just a small piece of are you fitter, right? So we have all of these different ways of seeing, from seeing if you're stronger to seeing from aerobic capacity to seeing, are you able to do something like that's more anaerobic to get more power and speed and all of those things, coordination to get a faster time. So all of those things come together. Basically what I'm saying is we have a plethora of things that we can look at to be testing, to see, are we getting fitter? As opposed to just saying, how many pounds did I lose, in this month? Or, do I look better in my clothes? Those type of things. I think those things can still be markers, right? But much of the time we focus in on that, and then we don't have as many things to be celebrating and be encouraged by, and that's what can then take people down the wrong road of not consistently doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of fitness.
Yeah. So let's. I mean, we mentioned a few of them, but it's like the ones inside the gym, like they're honestly they're everywhere, right? It can be as big and lofty as how fast you're running a mile. Can you get your first pull up? Can you get your first muscle up or rope climb or handstand push up or handstand walk? Like there's really like big and sexy things like that. But there's also as really small as, hey, I did this weight for 1 rep a year ago. Now I can do a set of 5 with it. Right. Hey, I did, I hung on the bar for 30 seconds 2 weeks ago. Now I can hang on the bar for 45 seconds because I'm, more used to the pain. Like there's tiny little measurable things like that from the warm up through the end. Like they're everywhere where we can say this is data to suggest an improvement, right? I just met with a guy the other day, and we've been putting in a lot of work on some movement limitations, right? That is like, we've got this little form that he filled out, and his number one goal is to address these limitations. There's one point where he told me, I feel like a 20-year-old from the waist down through my legs and anything that has to do with lower body, and I feel like a 6-year-old from my waist up, and so we've got some very objective measurements, right? This is the amount of wrist extension we have. This is the amount of elbow extension, shoulder flexion, right? And we've been going after this for a few months now and measured the same things, and it's like major improvements in range of motion, measurable range of motion. It's like, and that's a data-driven approach, because last week he's getting a little, not I don't know, just slightly discouraged, like, and just asking the question, like, is this crap even doing anything, because sometimes it is fairly monotonous, right?
Yeah.
It's like sometimes there's a boring monotony of, hey, you did 6 reps last week. Let's do 8 reps this week. Let's do 10 reps next week, right? Yeah. But then to go back and to look at the data and to suggest, hey, this stuff you've been doing, the friggin' 3rd grade math, right? Can we do more? Can we do more? Can we do more? It's working, right?
Yeah.
And it's because of that, the nature of the data making this thing measurable. That it's not just a feeling, right? Because the feelings were totally in the opposite direction.
Right. Go up and down.
Yeah. To something to point to look at and say, look at this, right? Let's celebrate this and let this also now be a motivator to keep going.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's the key of what we're talking about is, you mentioned feelings. I think not only in here, I mean, maybe things are going well in here, so maybe this isn't a place of discouragement, but there's so much in the world that is discouraging, that people just need something where they can kind of be doing the opposite of that, right? What can we be encouraged by? What can we, again, celebrating? So you're literally talking about, can a guy, bend his wrist further than he used to before? Can he bring his elbows closer together than he used to before? Overall scheme of things, you're probably like, what is that? But for him, that is growth. And again, human beings need growth, right? And that's just something that's kind of built in us, as we should always be growing. And when we are growing, that is encouraging to us. That allows us to be celebrating stuff instead of, always being down in the dumps about stuff, which is not on our list of health principles. Human body doesn't need to be down in the dumps all the time in order to survive and thrive.
Yeah, so I mean that falls under what we do with a lot of these principles is these are kind of like the high level category, and something like that would fall under this concept of expressing healthy emotion, relating to other people, in a healthy way. Somebody like him who, like, one of the motivating factors that's getting him to this place is it's pain, right? And so that's a huge issue for a lot of people. And one of the things I use to help people understand pain is emotion. Pain is your emotional response to the physical irritation, right? And so there's a massive piece for a lot of people that is kind of woken up by just how hard some of this stuff is. He's a pretty fit dude walking in here, but wasn't used to kind of pushing his body to that point. So, last week, being able to complete half of a workout and just have to tap out, thinking, I don't know what I just did to myself, right, to now, 7 days later, and, he just crushed a 22-minute workout that was way harder than the thing he did last week, right. Because a huge piece of that is, how are we mentally relating to this thing?
Yep.
Yeah.
So do we want to do a follow-up show where we kind of go through some benchmarks for people that we think would be?
I think that's a good idea. Off the top of your head, what's some stuff that we haven't mentioned that you've kind of are snoring on?
Well, this is coming from like a different category. I don't even know how to describe it, but both of us are involved with something that we are going to have to start asking some questions about, and this question is coming from that. And this isn't something we have to share on camera, but I'll tell you afterwards. No. But can you even run a mile? Like, can you continue moving for a mile, and hopefully continue jogging, running for a mile is something that I was thinking about. Can you do 20 push-ups? Literally, unfortunately, because so much of our population is unfit, like, I'm thinking through, what would I want to ask my children if they can do, right? Yeah. So I have an 11-year-old. He just got done running the mile at his school. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I think I started running the mile when kids. So, yeah, I think you can literally just go back to gym class and see, how far can you touch your toes? Could even be something as simple as that. So, I'm thinking through this. I don't know if there's like different levels, and not in a way like, well, man, we could get into the bunch of stuff. We should start doing something. Maybe we should start interacting with that. What was that gym? That high school that had the gym. Something.
La Sierra?
La Sierra, yep, in California.
Yeah.
So they literally had groups of people, like, you were gray shorts, you were blue shorts, right, you were red shorts, based off of level of fitness and age. But that's kind of what I'm thinking through is, for beginner level people, can you do a pull-up, right? Can you do a actual full push-up? Those type of things, and then just having different levels of challenging people.
I will have to show you this thing. I think it's called the level system. Basically, somebody has quantified progressions like this, and really broken it down. I haven't, I've got a vague awareness of it, but I'll have to look at it again and see if it's something that we could piggyback off of. Yeah, I like it. Yeah, and I think there's more things that we can do. So, the really simple one is, pounds lost, right? It's like, while that's not going to be a goal for everyone, it's like, that is a really cool thing to celebrate. And within it, so it's like, I'm coming up on 10 years of a 50-pound weight loss, you know? Like that's another aspect of that.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. I think we should put a little more thought into specifically what are some of these things that we can kind of, put up on the wall and say, I want my name to be on that list.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool.